Okay, so you're getting ready for a Checkout Supervisor interview.
Yeah,
That's great. Now, this role needs a real blend of skills,
it does.
leadership and customer service, and these days you need some tech skills too.
Absolutely.
We've got a lot of resources from RoleCatcher that can really help you get ready for this interview.
Yeah.
We've got career guides, interview guides.
Hmm.
We've even got some insights into how AI can give you an advantage.
For sure.
Our goal in this deep dive is to help you walk into that interview feeling really confident and prepared to impress.
That's right. We're going to break down some of those really tough interview questions. Explore how to tailor your answers to make the biggest impact. And we'll even touch a bit on what your career path might look like after this.
Okay, let's just jump right in. What are some of the toughest questions they might ask you?
Well, one classic question that almost always comes up.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share your experience in managing a team?
Okay.
Now, this isn't just about listing the different roles that you've had. They really want to see what your leadership style is and how you've actually put it into action.
So instead of just saying like, oh, I was in charge of this many people,
Right.
we need to go a little deeper.
Exactly. You need to think about some specific situations that really show your leadership.
Okay.
Did you mentor new employees?
Mm,
Did you lead a project that required you to delegate and coordinate different tasks?
yeah, and maybe a time when I had to give feedback to someone, even if it was kind of a tough conversation to have.
That's a great point. They want to see that you can handle the people side of management,
Yeah.
not just the tasks.
Okay.
And don't forget to try to quantify your results whenever you can.
Right.
Like, did your team exceed sales goals or did you implement a process improvement?
Yeah.
Those details can really help make your answer much more convincing.
Okay, so leadership skills, check. What else should I be prepared for?
Another very common one is, how do you handle difficult customers or situations at the checkout? This is all about showing off your customer service superpowers.
Right.
Everyone has had to deal with a frustrating customer.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to share a real example.
So instead of saying, oh, I'd stay calm and polite,
Yeah,
I should tell a story.
exactly. Walk them through a specific situation where you were able to de-escalate a tense moment or resolve a problem and really leave the customer feeling heard and respected.
Right.
The interviewer wants to see empathy, problem-solving skills,
Mm-hmm.
and a commitment to finding a win-win solution.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I know that RoleCatcher has this really cool AI tool
It does.
that analyzes job descriptions.
Yes.
Can that help me tailor my answers for a checkout supervisor role specifically?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The AI can identify keywords and skills that are emphasized in the job description, and then it suggests ways for you to work those into your answers.
So it's almost like having a personalized cheat sheet.
Exactly.
So like if the job description mentions efficient checkout flow, the AI might suggest that I highlight a time when I improved a process or trained cashiers to work on speed and accuracy.
That's exactly right. It helps you make a direct connection between your experience and what the company's looking for.
Okay, cool. Back to those tough questions.
Yeah.
What else might they ask?
Let's talk about organization.
Okay.
So they might ask something like, how do you ensure that the checkout area is efficient and well organized?
Okay.
Now, this is your chance to really highlight your operational skills.
So I should be thinking about like systems that I've implemented or processes I've improved,
Yes,
or even just my general approach to keeping things running smoothly.
precisely. Maybe you reorganized the checkout lanes to reduce wait times,
Okay.
or you implemented a new training program for the cashiers. Share those successes with them.
Right.
And again, always be prepared for follow-up questions.
Yeah.
They might ask you, what metrics do you use to track checkout efficiency?
Oh.
Or how do you identify and address bottlenecks?
Okay, those follow-up questions sound a little intimidating.
They can be.
Does RoleCatcher offer any help with that?
Actually, yes, it does.
Okay.
RoleCatcher's Copilot AI can simulate a mock interview for you
Wow.
and even suggest potential follow-up questions based on your initial answers.
That's so cool.
It's like having a practice run before the big game.
It really is. It's
But-
like the AI is helping me anticipate those curveball questions.
Exactly. Okay, let's tackle another challenging question.
Okay.
What would you do if a cashier consistently failed to meet their performance targets?
Okay.
This one is testing your leadership and your ability to handle team members that might not be performing as well as they should be.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
It is.
I don't want to sound too harsh, but I also need to show that I can address the issue.
You're absolutely right. It's about finding that balance between empathy and accountability.
Right.
You want to start by highlighting your coaching and mentoring skills. Have you helped a struggling cashier improve their speed or accuracy in the past?
Yeah.
Did you create a training program that addressed common weaknesses? You want to show them that you're willing to support your team, but that you also have high standards.
Yeah, for sure.
And be prepared for follow-up questions like, what steps would you take to identify the root cause of the performance issues?
Okay.
Or how would you document performance issues and provide constructive feedback?
I'm starting to see a pattern here.
What's that?
It's not just about giving like the right answer.
Right.
It's about showcasing your skills and your thought process.
You got it.
Yeah.
And that's where the AI feedback from RoleCatcher can be super helpful. It can actually analyze your responses and suggest ways to make them more impactful and align with what the job actually requires.
Okay, let's keep going. What other questions should I be ready for?
Well, they might want to know about your attention to detail and how you handle sensitive information. They could ask something like, how do you ensure that cash handling procedures are followed accurately and consistently?
Okay, so it's not just about avoiding errors. It's about showing that I understand how important security is and following procedures.
Precisely. Think about the systems you've put in place.
Okay.
Or checks and balances that you use to minimize risk.
Yeah.
Maybe you implemented a double counting system for cash drops. Or you've introduced regular audits to make sure things are accurate.
Maybe I should mention any training that I've given to my team about how to handle cash properly.
Absolutely. And be ready for those follow-up questions.
Okay.
They might ask, what are the key steps in closing out a cash register at the end of a shift?
Right.
Or how would you investigate a discrepancy in a cashier's till?
I'm feeling more confident already.
That's great.
But I know we've still got more to cover.
You're right. We've only just scratched the surface of what a Checkout Supervisor interview might be like.
Yeah.
There are going to be questions about confidential information, health and safety regulations, even how you'd handle conflicts between different members of your team.
Wow, it really is a multifaceted role.
It is.
But I feel like I'm getting a better grasp on how to approach these questions strategically.
And that's the key. You have to understand what they're really looking for,
Yeah.
so you can create answers that showcase your skills and your experience in the best way possible.
Yeah.
And don't forget, RoleCatcher is there to help you every step of the way.
All right, this has been so helpful.
Okay.
I'm ready to tackle a few more of those tough questions.
Great. Let's jump back in. The next one is about data privacy. Okay, let's switch gears for a minute and talk about confidentiality.
Okay.
Interviewers often ask about this. They might say something like,
Okay.
how do you handle confidential information, such as customer data or financial information? What they're really trying to understand here is how much you know about data privacy and ethical practices.
So it's not just enough to say, oh, I'd be really careful.
No, you're going to want to go a little deeper than that.
Right.
Think about specific systems or procedures that you've used to protect sensitive information in the past. Have you implemented secure password systems? Have you trained your team on the best ways to handle customer information?
Right. And I could even mention how I emphasize the importance of data privacy during team meetings.
Yeah.
Or how we use secure platforms for sharing documents with sensitive information.
Exactly. And you want to be prepared for those follow-up questions.
Yeah.
They might ask, what are your procedures for reporting a potential data breach?
Right.
Or how do you make sure that customer data is only accessed by authorized personnel?
That's where RoleCatcher's AI-powered interview practice can really help.
It really can.
It can help me rehearse those scenarios.
Absolutely. The Copilot AI simulates different interview situations and can give you feedback on your responses,
Wow.
including how well you handle those tricky follow-up questions.
Okay, so we've covered leadership, customer service, organization, handling underperforming employees, and confidentiality.
We have.
What other key areas might they ask about?
Health and safety is a big one. They might ask you, how do you ensure that the checkout area is compliant with health and safety regulations?
Okay.
This is all about showing them how committed you are to creating a safe work environment for both your team and for the customers.
So I should be ready to talk about things like cleaning procedures and safety training.
Yes.
Or just my general awareness of potential hazards.
Exactly. Maybe you implemented a regular cleaning schedule for things that people touch all the time, like the PIN pads.
Okay.
Or maybe you trained your team on how to lift things properly so they don't get injured.
Yeah.
Show them you're being proactive when it comes to safety.
Right, and I could tie this back to leadership by explaining how I held regular safety meetings with the team.
Yeah.
Or encouraged everyone to report anything that they thought may be dangerous.
That's a great way to weave in those leadership qualities.
Yeah.
And again, be ready for those follow-up questions.
Right.
They might ask you things like, what are the key safety procedures for handling spills or other accidents in the checkout area? Or, how do you make sure that all of the checkout equipment is properly maintained and safe to use?
It's interesting how all of these different interview questions often overlap.
Right.
You can be talking about safety procedures, but you can also highlight your leadership style or your attention to detail in the same answer.
You're exactly right. It's all about connecting those dots and showing them the full range of your skills.
Yeah.
Speaking of connecting the dots,
Okay.
let's talk a little about career growth.
Okay.
This is where RoleCatcher's career guides can really come in handy.
All right, let's talk career path. It's easy to get so focused on the interview itself
Yeah,
that you forget to think about the bigger picture.
that's true. You're not just applying for a job. You're taking the first step on a path that has real potential for growth.
Oh.
RoleCatcher's guide breaks this down into several stages, starting from cashier and going all the way up to senior checkout supervisor.
That's exciting. So even though I'm interviewing for Checkout Supervisor right now,
Uh-huh.
it's good to know where that role could take me in the future.
Absolutely. It shows that you're ambitious and you're thinking about long-term growth with the company.
Yeah.
And each step in this career path comes with more responsibility and more chances to improve those leadership skills.
Okay, so what are some of those key steps and how do they build upon each other?
Okay, well, often you'll start as a cashier,
Okay.
focusing on accuracy and efficiency and providing excellent customer service.
Right.
It's all about building that solid foundation.
Yeah.
Then you might move up to senior cashier,
Okay.
where you might start training new cashiers, handling more complex transactions, or helping to resolve customer issues. You're beginning to demonstrate those leadership qualities there.
It's like each step is preparing you for the next level of responsibility.
Exactly. Then you reach that checkout supervisor level where you're overseeing the whole checkout process. You're managing a team of cashiers, and you're making sure everything's running smoothly and efficiently.
So all of those early experiences as a cashier and senior cashier are really important for developing the skills needed to be a good supervisor.
Precisely. And from there, you could move up to assistant checkout manager,
Okay.
where you're supporting the supervisor with things like scheduling, performance monitoring,
Yeah.
and those more complex customer service situations.
And for those that are really driven,
Yeah,
the path doesn't end there, does it?
not at all. You could become a senior checkout supervisor,
Right.
leading a team of supervisors, developing strategies, and even collaborating with other departments to optimize the whole checkout process.
It's amazing to see how that initial role can really lead to such a fulfilling career.
It really is. And RoleCatcher has some great tips on how to navigate those advancements.
Okay.
They emphasize things like continuous learning, seeking professional development, and building relationships in the industry.
So it's not just about doing your current job well,
Right.
but about actively investing in your own growth.
Exactly. And that kind of proactive mindset, that's something you can highlight during your interview. It shows them that you're committed to constantly improving yourself.
This has been so helpful.
Good.
It's making me think about the checkout supervisor role in a whole new way.
That's great to hear. Now let's get back to those interview questions.
Okay.
We've still got a few more to go over,
Okay.
and I want to make sure you're prepared for anything they might ask you.
Okay.
The next one has to do with conflict resolution. Okay. Let's look at a question that really digs into your people skills.
Okay.
Something like, how do you handle conflicts or disagreements between staff members?
Okay.
This is all about showing that you can mediate, de-escalate a situation, and find solutions that actually work for everyone.
So it's about more than just saying, hey, you two, just get along.
Right. You're going to have to go deeper than that.
Okay.
They want to see that you can actually deal with different personalities
Right.
and build a work environment where everyone feels comfortable.
Yeah.
So think about times when you've successfully dealt with conflict and highlight your communication skills and how good you are at solving problems.
Okay. So maybe I could talk about a time when two employees were clashing over different work styles,
Yeah,
and I helped them find some common ground.
perfect.
Or how I made a very clear process for dealing with interpersonal issues so that everyone felt comfortable speaking openly.
Excellent examples.
Thanks.
Those show that you're proactive and you handle conflict in a really positive way.
Okay.
And of course, be ready for those follow-up questions.
Right.
They might ask you something like, what are your strategies for active listening and conflict resolution?
Correct.
Or how would you handle a situation where one employee is always causing conflict?
It seems like almost every question has those potential follow-ups.
They do.
It's a bit nerve-wracking.
I get it. But remember, RoleCatcher's Copilot AI can really help you practice those different scenarios.
Yeah.
The more you practice, the better you'll feel about handling those unexpected questions.
That makes me feel a little bit better.
Good. What's next on our list of questions?
Okay, let's see.
Let's look at staffing and training.
Okay.
They might ask something like, how do you ensure that the checkout area is always fully staffed and that your staff members are trained and motivated?
Okay.
This question covers a lot of ground.
It does.
It's looking at your ability to manage staffing levels, figure out what training is needed,
Yeah.
and then create a really positive work environment.
Wow, that's a lot packed into one question.
Yeah.
So they want someone who can deal with the scheduling side of things,
Yes,
but also someone who can keep their team feeling engaged and productive.
exactly. Think about any strategies you've used to find and keep talented cashiers and how you've kept your team motivated and performing at their best.
Okay.
Maybe you set up a flexible schedule to meet everyone's needs or created a rewards program to recognize great work.
And I could talk about any training programs I've made
Yeah,
or how I mentored new cashiers to help them learn quickly.
those are great points. And as always, be prepared for those follow-up questions. Like, what are your strategies for recruiting and onboarding new cashiers? Or how do you measure how satisfied your employees are and see where things can be improved?
This is really opening my eyes to all the things that Checkout Supervisor does.
Yeah,
It's more than just watching people check out.
it is. It's a dynamic role that needs a variety of skills.
Right.
Okay, for our final question today,
Okay.
let's focus on customer service.
Go on.
They might ask you, how do you make sure that customer complaints are handled effectively and efficiently?
Oh,
This is where you get to shine as a customer service champion.
so more than just saying, I'd apologize and try to fix it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dig a little deeper.
Okay.
Think about specific times when you went above and beyond to address a customer's concern.
Yeah.
Maybe you created a system for escalating complaints or gave your team the power to resolve issues right then and there.
And I could mention how I asked for feedback from customers to find any recurring problems and fix them before they became bigger issues.
Excellent. Those all show your dedication to customer satisfaction.
Yeah.
Be ready for those follow-ups, though. Like,
Right.
what are your strategies for getting feedback from customers and identifying those common complaints? Or how do you track and measure how satisfied your customers are?
Wow, we covered a lot today.
We did.
I feel much better about what to expect in this interview
That's great.
and how to handle those tough questions.
I'm glad to hear that. Just remember, preparation is key.
Right.
And RoleCatcher has those resources,
Yeah.
especially those AI-powered tools. They're designed to help you be as successful as possible.
It's like having a secret weapon.
It is.
So as we wrap up, what's one key piece of advice you'd give someone going into a Checkout Supervisor interview?
I'd say let your passion show.
Okay.
Let them see how much you love leadership, customer service, and creating a great work environment.
Yeah.
And remember, this isn't just about getting a job.
Right.
It's about starting a career that could be really rewarding.
I love that. It's about being yourself and showing them why you'd be such a valuable addition to their team.
Exactly. And with all the information and tools we talked about today,
Yeah.
you'll be in a great position to do just that.
This has been such an informative, deep dive into the world of the Checkout Supervisor.
It has.
I feel like we've given our listeners a real advantage
Me too.
going into that interview.
Remember, retail is always changing. So keep learning, be flexible, and always look for ways to get better.
That's great advice for any career.
It is.
Well, we've reached the end of our deep dive.
We have.
We hope you enjoyed it.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.